desperate in the world right now. Just get rid of everybody else and get 3 good players and think about how good G2 could be. Wouldn't it be a really good team?
Look, it is an amazing idea. It is absolutely amazing and an amazing idea on paper. But,
just do it, man.
But we've seen how it goes before.
Yeah, but
NiKo can't take the fucking pressure.
He's matured, right?
He's not. Come on.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
Changing, but one thing remains the same: victories with 1xBet.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed. We are brought to you by 1xBet. Remember to gamble responsibly and trade at .gg. I'm going to talk really fast so that Prof doesn't know if he's jet-lagged or if I'm talking really, really fast. It's going to be a mind-boggling evening. Look, we got through the sponsors, we got through the intro, and we are back in Europe. We've flown back from the States, all 3 of us. I believe Striker and I probably got back sometime yesterday.
Yep.
What time did you get back?
I got back to home actually at around 4, so it was kind of a long travel day.
Yeah, usually late flights out of the States. And Prof, you decided that you loved America so much that you wanted to stay an extra day.
This is correct. And it was a good day. It was a good day. I stayed an extra day in Dallas, moved to like a different hotel that I had no idea, but was in like a skyscraper, like 50th floor or some shit. It was really cool. I actually enjoyed it.
Is that just to get in the sleep, or did you do anything?
No,
did you
I was making the most out of the opportunities, let's say.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the travel back is always a nightmare, like especially when the flights were late. I think my flight was 6:45 p.m. on Monday, so it's already essentially Tuesday in Europe.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's good to like go a day later to avoid the crazy, like generally Mondays are shit to travel. And then you also, when 50,000 people or whatever are leaving DreamHack at the same day, it's probably going to be kind of hectic at the airport and everywhere. So it was nice to stay an extra day, chill out, and then fuck off. I arrived home like 3-4 hours ago, had a micro nap, woke up, and like it was one of those you wake up and you really don't want to wake up. Like you're like, why just take me, just like death's embrace can take me away. I don't really care about anything, but I muster through it.
Like when you wake up from a bad night's sleep after you've taken a sleeping pill and your body just feels absolutely groggy and hammered, and you even feel like a little bit sick and disorientated. And yeah, no, I know that feel. Like I got back yesterday, I don't know, 6:30 p.m. after a lovely 4-hour layover in Rome. That was awesome. Rome, sort out your fucking lounges.
Oh, never mind. That was like I just realized where you went. I'm like, why would you go through Rome?
He's not going to Sydney. He's not going to Perth or Rome. I can tell you that.
I was thinking about it for a while. Like I was thinking, oh yeah, this would be the great time to go back to Austria, but it's 6 weeks in winter, where I'd be trading that for 6 weeks of fucking Malta summer. So I set with the summer. But mate, Rome lounges, the ones that I went to, don't have bathrooms in the lounge. I feel like a big part of why you pay for a lounge.
You mean like a shower or just a bathroom in general?
Just a bathroom in general.
That's
That seems a little bit insane.
That makes no sense. So you walked up to the counter, you're like, okay, so where's the bathroom? He's like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's like, oh, down the hall. I was like, oh, you mean with the public? Okay, so me and Alex just sat at the bar, not drinking alcohol, just drinking coffee and free water until we had to leave.
Public, like it's the pleb.
Like, oh, that's why you go into a lounge, mate. Because you want a bit of privacy.
But like the Lufthansa ones have the nice little showers and everything, and like on a big layer like this, one of the best things. You go and you have your whole room. It's a bathroom. You have a toilet. You have a huge sink. You have a shower. You go and you do all of the things. You're refreshed. All of the things.
Yeah.
All of the things. You come out. You're a new person. Then you have like a little flight to get home, and it's like beautiful. The best. But I was at Charles de Gaulle in Paris, and I can say like this is like the third time I was there. The first 2 times were fine, and now I understand everything. And just imagine like being such a powerful country, and this is your capital, and this is your airport. It's absolutely insane. I'm pretty sure 45 minutes at security, but not like waiting in line. Just like from the moment I got to like put my bag in. Had some issue. Okay. Waiting 15 minutes to get to the bag. Okay. We'll put it through again. Why are we putting it through again? Oh, what's happened? It's an issue again. So then they open it after literally like 30 more minutes of waiting because everything's so slow. All of the lines are congested. No one is moving anything. Everything just standing there and no one gives a fuck. Everyone's just watching everything burning. And it's like, yes, this is fine. And I'm like losing my shit. And I barely made like a 3-hour connection. That's how
CDG,
crazy.
Man. I was there twice. Like if you're going just to Paris and back, it's fine because you don't have to deal with all that shit. You don't have to deal with transfers, but like transferring in that airport is fucking horrible.
How was your travel, Lucas? He's gone AFK already. He's left us already. What are you going to fix?
There we go. I fixed it. Hi, guys.
Okay.
It was
first time for you going to the US.
Wonderful. I got back home at 7 a.m. tomorrow, went straight to work.
Okay. You got home at 7 a.m. tomorrow and went straight to work.
Yesterday, 7 a.m.
I was like, are you?
Time traveler.
I am properly jet lagged at this point.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I wanted to establish at the top of the show is that, there's going to be a little bit of
the mental state. We're not 100%, on point. I wrote the article on the flight, actually, like the topic list and everything. Like you were awake at like 5 a.m. or something. I think we were messaging at that time. And I wrote the whole article. I posted it, and then I went back to like check the comments to see what I fucked up because people just find it all the time. And I just wrote like IEM Sydney in the middle of the article.
Nice.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
So now, we take those.
I wanted to establish this because there are some teams who went straight from the States to Abu Dhabi for this Yala Compass. Like,
it was kind of insane. Honestly, pretty insane to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about Heroic though, because I only saw NiKo does, so I'm not sure how the rest of them went over.
Well,
I mean, they were playing the show match, no? So they didn't have.
Oh, yeah, right, of course.
They didn't really do anything.
They must have left around the same time.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see Heroic bomb out of their group stage over there. Complexity, on the other hand.
It's in process already. They're 0-2.
Yeah, so it's not a great start, but we'll get to that a little bit later. We're going to kick things off, obviously, talking about IEM Dallas, which was the highlight of the last week in the Counter-Strike world. And it was a very, let's say, from top to bottom, entertaining event, I think, for a lot of different factors. Obviously, the G2 winning with Stewie is the main story. And I guess that probably contributed to the crowd. But I thought that the overall event and the demeanor of the people who go to this DreamHack Festival and be there for IEM Dallas, it's always a pretty good time. This time was another good time. It's always a bit of a different vibe. I saw a guy post like pictures of the afters. I don't know what the kids are calling it these days, but had pictures with all the pro players in the lobby and stuff, which it does become one of these almost mainstays of Dallas, really, because there's so many different restaurants and bars around the actual hotel itself, and a lot of people stay in the hotel, and that's where people go in after days or after they get knocked out or whatever, and just chilling. So there are those opportunities for people, and so it seemed like everybody was having a good time. Everybody I spoke to seemed to be pretty good, and I think the event was well received. We obviously did the live show there in conjunction with Liquid and Coinbase. And I guess a whole bunch of people were unable to make it because of delays due to flights, thanks to the poor weather conditions. So apologies to those people who were unable to make it. Disappointed we couldn't have you there. But, Mother Nature, she's a fucking bitch. I think that's how that's saying.
Still a fun time. It's like funny that you're apologizing for the weather. Like you have any influence.
But it would have been nice to have it there,
Or are you Zeus or some shit?
I'm doing some cloud seeding these days, so I'm trying to work on that Dubai technology that gave them the floods the other week. It paid off. It really paid off. No, but it was a lot happened, and I guess as we're recovering from that, the Counter-Strike world keeps ticking forward. But gentlemen, you guys were there for different purposes. Prof, you flew in just for actually you were there kind of early, weren't you?
I mean, we kind of came at the same time, in Striker, I think. No, actually,
you came in a couple of days later.
Yeah, I came in a couple of days later. I came mainly for Confirmed, right? And then ended up doing like the Monster Mornings thing that came out later. Me and Stana had a bit of fun there. It was an experience for sure. I know, like, the last bit went on the main broadcast, which I had no idea that was going to happen. And apparently there are some issues, so it came across not the best, maybe. But other than that, it was a pretty fun show. It
kind of picked up with Trace, Zeus, and Joker Steve leaving the room with you, and then you just sitting in a room for a couple minutes until they were situated in the car, and then they got in the car. And I don't think the audio or tech was the best, but that was essentially the pre-show for the show match.
Yeah, live production. The miracles of live productions. The best thing is I actually brought Lucas to like this last day. It was like 3 days. So the last day I'm like, oh, maybe I can bring Lucas over. These guys, like, they have like a nice setup here, pretty professional, how they're doing everything. Maybe Lucas can learn something to how not to fuck up a show. And of course, I bring him in. Everything's on fire. So the only thing you can take away is like, everyone fucks up and nothing ever works properly.
Yeah, so it's
not really the point.
Gives you a good excuse.
not really what I was aiming to accomplish right there, but it is what it is.
I will say, Liam's just said in chat, Twitch were convinced ESO we're going to get Twitch banned for not wearing seatbelts. I was slightly concerned with the message that they were sending by not wearing seatbelts. I was like, gentlemen, what's going on here? This isn't a country where not wearing seatbelts is acceptable behavior. You're meant to be good role models for the children out there. So that was slightly concerning for Zeus, Trace, and Joker Steve. And they're all meant to be adults. So I don't know what to say, guys.
They're responsible for their own lives, as they would say.
Yeah. Striker, how did you find the event from your perspective, being one of the men on the ground doing the interviews and all that jazz?
I actually didn't do so many interviews. I was kind of like secondary there, actually, because I just let our junior take the lead because he was always going to was supposed to be there. I did some stuff on the side that that will get released over time. But I also had a lot of shift work, which was kind of like, what I would do normally at home just from the event, which is always a shit experience because it's always, you have so many distractions around you. And so it's kind of hard to work. But it was like, in the end, I kind of found my groove. I did some stuff on the side. I did one interview from Impact. So I was just kind of like supporting our junior, basically doing some stuff that he couldn't do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And someone got his head shaved.
Yeah, that was him. Good.
Yeah,
Sam.
Yeah, that was that guy.
Good sport. Stewie also said he was going to shave his head if they won the tournament.
And he pussied out.
I did see that clip, but didn't Apex say that a couple of years ago as well, and it didn't happen for him either?
I mean, who was also FaZe?
FaZe did it when they won the major. They were supposed to all do it, and they left Brokey in it. Nobody else did it. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Is that why Brokey did it? I thought Brokey did. When I spoke to Brokey about it was like because he had some gray hair, and I said I thought the salt and pepper looked fucking awesome.
Well, maybe it was a double whammy.
Combination of both.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
maybe that's why everybody else didn't want
it.
Maybe that's why nobody else wanted to do it. They were like, "You would do it anyway. Like, why would we have to?"
Yeah. Now let's get into, I suppose. Oh, here it is. Look at Lucas. Look at him. Lucas is doing technological things.
The worst thing is that, like, since we have this clip, and this is already after we were started to shave the guy for like 5 minutes, and the front is gone, people are like, oh, he's already bald. It doesn't really make. He wasn't. I mean, he's balding just like I am, but it's not that bad. Definitely had hair at the front. But bro, shaving a person with these little clippers, not that easy. It took us like 30 minutes. Not even.
It was like a whole community thing, you know, because it was like half of G2 did it, like 3 other managers did it, a bunch of HLTV people did it, and then at the end, Bog just comes in and does the rest of it because he's used to shaving his own head apparently. So like he spent like 20 minutes there doing it just because he was feeling bad for Sam and for
Who
the
cleaned up the
job.
mess?
We just had like a little tablecloth under him, so we literally just picked it up, throw it out, easy.
Okay, nice.
We got permission from the security guards. They all had to buy, and they're all super happy to accommodate. So it was vibes. That's one thing that most American service people, they're all there for the vibes. So it was really nice.
More than happy for the madness to go down. I don't like the people in the airport in America though, because they're always yelling. You know, keep the line moving, and it's like the line can't go anywhere, motherfucker. And then they're like, take your shoes off. I'm like, come on, man. Well, come on. You're the only country in the world that makes me take my shoes off, man.
I really don't want to do that, but it is what it is.
What can you do?
It is what it is. All right, let's get into the main storylines, the meat and potato of tonight's conversation, which is going to be around IEM Dallas. Then we're going to move into some bits and bobs around the major changes, which we didn't get to discuss because it happened just after we finished the live show, which is probably good because we didn't get caught up with all the overreact Andys making tweets and petitions and all that fucking nonsense without actually thinking. So wait, I'll save my bitterness until a little bit later.
I was going to say that's like a little preview of what your opinion is on the subject.
Yeah. I'll get out on my high horse a little bit later. All right, let's take a little bit of a gander here. So obviously, G2 winning the entire event. So when we were talking about this, when it was announced or in the lead up to IEM Dallas, I think that I was extremely critical of why they would even go with this roster. I was saying they should just give up the spot. They should give it to Astralis. What are they doing? They're just wasting a whole spot at the event. And then Striker, you came in and said, well, the only way this makes sense is if they're in the playoffs and the crowd's going nuts and it all pays off. And well, it couldn't have paid off any better than it did. They won the entire event somehow, some way. What do we make of this, gentlemen?
I think it's a little bit insane. Especially like because you end up on 2 HooXis on your team because Nexa just dropped off the face of the planet and still win the tournament. Like that's kind of not supposed to happen, you know?
You need to be careful, Striker.
Why?
Don't talk shit about Nexa. Were you not following along on Twitter in the last couple of hours or last couple of days?
Yeah, but it turns out that she took the hit, you know? She was like, yeah, okay, I got a little bit personal. I get it. So it's fine.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you're happy to put your life on the line.
You didn't see the take back from Donna?
I did, but the thing is, once the narrative is set, the narrative is set. It doesn't matter what's said after that. No one gives a fuck. People only care about the initial.
The stupid part about it is like Nexa literally said it himself. It's like, I usually don't perform like this. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm like trying to do anything other than fragging to actually contribute to the conversation.
When the crowd is cheering that you're extinguishing a Molotov, that's when you know you've made it. That's when you know you've made it.
I don't even understand what happened in that round where he burned himself. I was just like not looking at his HP, like not hearing that he was burning down. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I mean, the thing about these arguments, when someone is playing bad, then it's like, oh, but you don't know what they contribute. Obviously, like it's almost like the argument is like this guy adds something versus I don't know, nothing. Like, what is the comparison? Is obviously if someone's performing bad, there could be someone that performs better, and not like there's going to be he's just filling a hole that is for no one. Obviously, he's going to provide something, but he's really not providing as much as the average player in this position or a very good player in this position would, right? And that's the argument 90% of the time that we're making when we're saying someone is not really playing up to par. And it's like, yeah, Nexa's tournament was horrible, like, and it doesn't make any sense. And I was trying to kind of obviously make sense of this win. How did that happen? mezii is obviously a huge factor. I think NiKo is a huge factor. Some nice calls, because like if you look at the stats, it doesn't really add up that much. I think the only difference maker was Hunter, honestly, and especially on the CT side. So I think that really changed a lot for G2 compared to what Hunter has been playing like for the last he was okay in Pro League, but Pro League is Pro League. But other than that, in CS2, he's been pretty a liability, I would say. Not even a liability. He just lacked almost any impact most of the time. When he has this like kind of tricky role, he would usually be very good in the mid rounds, but not in CS2. In this tournament, he definitely provided enough openings for the rest of the team to work around, and I think that's the only logic I can put to it from like a very objective, like outside Counter-Strike perspective, because like they didn't play perfect Counter-Strike, not even close, but the basics were pretty good, and they had good vibes. The vibes are apparently.
Well, that's why they got rid of JKS and added Nexa in the first place, right? Maybe they were just one player changed away from having those good vibes all the time.
I mean, maybe that could be true. That could be true. I mean, but I don't know if we want to go in that direction of like what this could mean.
We'll get there.
Just to stick on the tournament itself is fucking insane. I think we should give even more props to m0NESY than we did. Obviously, starting the tournament, it wasn't that insane. I think the group stage was kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
But the playoffs are insane, and that FaZe game, like, what the shit is that? Like, how do you destroy FaZe that insanely on a stage? And funnily enough, FaZe got destroyed similarly by ZywOo at the EPL, right? It was like kind of a repeat of the same story of the team that's supposed to be like competing for the title, just like getting blown out in the semis or the quarter or whatever.
I mean, also realistically, like there were like 5 different points in the groups where they were supposed to go out. You know, like Liquid throw the Inferno game after winning the first map. You know, before that, like it was like 11-8 or some shit or like 10-8 for MOUZ in that decider on Ancient, and G2 just pull out like 6 plays in a row, or like 6 out of 7 last rounds. They win like 1v3s, 1v2s, like whatever. Louis triple that he was never supposed to get because MOUZ should trade him like a million times, you know. Like all these situations happen in the group stage, and then in the playoffs, it just felt like a lot of things went right. I mean, also like the fact that they had all 3 of their main guys turning up at the same time. I mean, Prof was talking about it. Hunter stepped up big, especially in the playoffs. NiKo was great the whole time, and m0NESY was just amazing, you know. Like, so it's kind of they won the G2 way in the groups, and then actually looked impressive in the playoffs, you know, where, you know, it didn't look like they were just like winning all the close situations or winning all the clutches. They actually won pretty convincingly, apart from the final, the Vitality game, you know. So I feel, I don't know, it kind of felt like a perfect storm for them at different points in time.
They got a lot of the same maps that they got to play over and over again.
Yeah,
which I think
I mean, Gstew definitely.
Benefit.
I think Gstew definitely must have played a part, because I mean, FaZe played it for the first time in that game, and so like that also contributed for sure. Like they were also playing weird, like their T side, FaZe's T side was horrible in that game, and that probably wouldn't have happened if they had a couple of other chances to play the map beforehand, you know. And then, you know, they obviously play mezii, who, like, it's not like they didn't deserve to be there, but obviously, like in an arena game, they're going to be the favorites regardless of having a stand-in anyway, G2. I mean, so it's more like the Vitality when that is super impressive. And it's not like that Vitality didn't have ZywOo turn up, like in the last map, of course. But before that, they went through like 4 overtimes, you know, to get to the last map. So like to go through all of that and then still win, I think that was the impressive part to me.
Yeah.
Can you explain, Chad, how no one picked Mirage against them? How did this happen?
Oh yeah,
this
that's
doesn't make
one.
any sense.
I
can't explain most of the tournament, Prof. That's half the problem with what just happened in Dallas.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Some voodoo shit, man, for people to just like accept that, like, okay, these guys have Mirages, they're permaban. They're literally leaving it to go through every single time. And even teams who actually actively play Mirage and are decent at it, I know none of the teams were like good on it. Well, FaZe could have picked it. I expected FaZe would pick it against them. I expected that veto to go completely differently. But like how G2 just managed to make everybody believe that, like, because NiKo likes Mirage or whatever the reason is, why they didn't pick it against them. Like, they've literally haven't played the map in like 5 months or some shit. Like, why not? Why did nobody pick it against them?
So yeah, FaZe has 13 maps of Mirage played this year, 73% win rate. They lost to Virtus Pro in Dallas groups, and then before that they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maps won on that, and then they lost to Spirit twice in Katowice.
It's insane to me. Like
I said, I can't explain half the tournament. I think something that I've been having a thought about is not direct for this tournament exclusively, but probably for more of them along the course of the journey, and probably something which I think the community need to do a better job is framing events and what they probably mean in the bigger picture, which would then be returning to taking a look at the season as a whole and what things are leading into where and what teams are coming out of what, because we still have this vibe where we go into every event expecting the best teams to always win, whereas not every event is weighted the same for every team attending said event. Yeah. And so we frame it from the underdog perspective of saying it's their Super Bowl, but we don't really frame it from the favorite team's perspective. We can always come up with reasons of why they would want to win or why they should win or why they should still be a favorite. But there's a lot of factors that also go in there. Like, for example, we spoke about this on the live show, but MOUZ not practicing a week before the event, and people are like, oh yeah.
But that's insane, man. Like,
yes, I know.
I don't think we could have known that, right?
No, we couldn't.
Because I understand what you're saying about framing the event, but in the previous years, Dallas this event was kind of a throwaway in terms of 50%.
It's still into Grand Slam, maybe. Like it still has some things we can talk about.
But I think this year there is no reason for it to be kind of a throwaway event, right? There was quite a bit of time from the major. There was a few tournaments that were played, blah, blah. I think that it just makes sense that this would be where everyone's like at least 70, 80%. And I think aside from MOUZ, I don't think anyone was taking this event too easily. I don't think, FaZe, Spirit, Vitality were.
I mean, for Spirit, it was huge, right? Because it was one of the few events they've actually attended this season. So, of course.
Other than BetBoom, right? Dasha, which they were at the.
But I mean, that's not even a big event, right? So, like from that perspective.
But I think the framing for Spirit especially was that was their first event back in 2 months, BetBoom, and this was then going into an arena event, and they lost to Vitality. So it's not like they lost to they didn't get MOUZed, right? And people are like, oh, but look who MOUZ lost to. Yeah, they lost to 9Z in a best of one.
Yeah, right? And they also lost to G2, and now G2 won the tournament, and 9Z is top 4. So maybe they were actually in great form.
Right?
Like, reverse logic, right?
Hey,
but I definitely think the aspect of the map changes, both the Vertigo and Gstew coming in, I kind of lowered this. I don't want to say the skill ceiling, but essentially lowered the quality that teams have. Because they took away essentially one map where some teams were better, some teams were worse in the overpass, and put Vertigo in this weird position where no one really wants to play it because it changed enough that people are unsafe about it. And it also is a map that not many teams really are going to first pick. Obviously, it's complexity and MOUZ. These teams really like it. But other than that, most teams are like okay to play it, but not really as a first pick. So it just the map pool is kind of weird. It's just kind of shrunk to essentially like five maps.
But that's one of the factors, right? And one of the things that I look at, and I guess that update came in not that long ago, and ESL decided to run with it because of the NVIDIA stuff, right? Apparently there being no more crashes, which Mark Winter made a tweet after the event saying there were no crashes due to it. And then someone put it on Reddit saying that ESL fixed it. It's like, God damn it. Can you guys fucking read? But the update was obviously something that came from Valve. And I had heard that there was some conversation from ESL with Valve and NVIDIA about, the crashes that they were having and providing the information over the course of the events. And now apparently it's fixed. So that's a positive. That's a big thing. But again, I just want to take this step back because this is probably a good lesson, and maybe we can remind ourselves. Oh, no, actually, this is more of a question that I have for you guys. So the reason that this type of an event I find, and I think this is probably for a lot of pundits out there, is that if we look at the event in isolation and what it was and the story and G2 winning and Stewie coming back after, the EG dramas and then winning and, how good that is in front of a home crowd, that storyline in isolation is really good. But I think from our side of the fence, and I don't want to talk for you guys, so you guys can say whether you agree with this or not, but we tend to look more big picture or long term, right? In the way that we're looking at Counter-Strike. So my immediate knee jerk, and this is because I'm a bit of a curmudgeon at the moment, but my way of focusing at the moment is the long term, what does this mean greater for Counter-Strike? So to see a result like this, it's like, well, okay, cool. They won this event, but in the big scheme of CS, who cares? because it doesn't, like, the ramifications of it are what? Maybe it changes some things with G2 in terms of other teams. What does it do? Maybe Stewie gets back on a roster. Maybe he doesn't. We had that discussion on the live show. But that's the thing I need.
No, I was just saying, like, the way that you're talking about it, like, this could literally be like, you know, we've been thinking about like doing kind of like series of articles or videos, like kind of looking back, like if what if a roster moved, or like what if this didn't happen, like how it would affect the future, how it would affect moves. Like, you know, if you look at, for example, like FaZe's Boston loss, you know, in the final, and how it like cascaded into like different things, you know. And I was thinking like what this could, like, what's the biggest impact this could potentially have. And I was like, already the first part of it has already, or has like manifested a little bit. And I was saying, like, before they went into the final, like, if they win, this will have some mega stupid implications on the Counter-Strike scene. First, they will kick HooXi, because HooXi will, NiKo will suddenly believe he's an in-game leader, so G2 will get some fragger instead of HooXi. That's the first thing that I think will happen, or like that this
could have an
impact on. And second of all, somebody will just believe, like, somebody will delude themselves into thinking Stewie like has it to win tournaments, and they will give him power of the roster, and like they're like within the next half of a year, you know, he's going to build the next NA team or whatever like that. Honestly, like from that perspective, like as long as you can actually get some good players around him, like over time, I'm sure he's going to get better mechanically, because he didn't have a lot of time to get used to this, I'm sure. But like those are the two biggest things that this could have an impact on, you know, like G2 will just suddenly decide NiKo's their game leader, you know, they're going to get a decent fragger. mezii will stay there for another term, because suddenly he'll begin believing again, whatever, you know, like, I don't know. I just feel like this could actually have reasonably big implications.
Yeah, so the ramifications are one thing, but I want to see if I can put a cap on this, and then we can jump into a bit more of that. But the bigger picture thing, do you guys agree that do you guys look at this from what does this really mean, or like it's in the sphere of CS? And also, if you do, why do you think we do that? Because wouldn't it be better if we just enjoyed it? Just exactly. Wouldn't it be better if we just stopped and smelled the roses?
Well, I don't think we can, because this is like our position in the ecosystem.
But then we
right?
just feel like haters, right? Which is why I changed tune when it was happening, because I was there and I was like, well, fuck it. Like, if this is going to happen, I'll just get on board the fun, even though I think it's delusion. And then it ended up happening. And I was like, well, it's better I just be here and enjoy it and be a part of like the Gstew movement, because this is what it's all about at the moment. But like my actual thought process of it was, this is ridiculous. This is a stand-in team winning an event. Do we like what are we doing? Like, look, what are the good teams doing? Like,
that's the biggest part of it, right? Because I don't even mind the fact that G2 won. I was like, you don't get to win looking as bad mechanically as Stewie was. And I don't mean this in like some hating way or anything like that, but you just look at him and he has trouble spraying. Like, he has trouble pulling off like the easiest sprays all the time. And it happens like every other round, like where you see him going to some weird spray that he's just missing because like the bullets go above the guy all the time. And it's like, and then Nexa actually drops off the face of the earth. I'm like, you don't get to win this way. It doesn't work that way. Like, it's not supposed to happen, you know? But at the same time, like, it's more about how does everybody else drop the ball, you know? Like, how do you allow that to happen even? But like, from your perspective though, I was actually thinking about this as well. And that's also in line with kind of like how people instantly go into like talking about Navi's major win as a fluke and all that stuff. Like, instead of actually trying to kind of put everything together and realize why this happened and like enjoy as it comes, or just take it for what it is. Like, okay, they won one tournament. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be translated. Otherwise, they're frauds.
Sure, they just won the major.
They just won the major,
IEM
right?
Dallas,
like, from that perspective, you know. So like, you can then look at the next tournament and look back like, okay, is this going to be replicable? And you can put these storylines at the next tournament rather than already like looking ahead into the future, like instantly as an event happens and say like, okay, this doesn't mean anything because, you know, it's a fluke or whatever it is. So from that perspective, I've also changed my tune a little bit, not to get too bogged down with like, okay, does this even mean anything for the future? I don't care, you know, like, I just like, I can look at what it meant for that tournament and why it happened at that tournament and all that stuff, and I can still enjoy it for what it is, or like I can enjoy the storyline of it, but I'm not going to be as delusional as Stewie fans thinking like, oh my god, he's back, you know. So like, from that perspective,
I think that's where some of the pushback comes. Like, why we want to push back is because if we don't, the narrative is going to get out of hand, and then later when you say like Stewie played poorly for most of that tournament, then people will be like, oh, you're a hater, and like talk shit and push for, you know, Stewie and Liquid and these things that are completely not realistic and should not happen, right? I think that's also why most of pundits and commentators want to be like, no, guys, please calm down. This is not what you're trying to make it to be. But I agree that like some of these, you know, if it's a trophy lift just happened, then you go to a desk and people are like, this is never going to happen again. It's like, bro, shut the fuck up. sometimes
in that moment,
especially
if
it's like a big tournament and something that's like a fucking major. Maybe you don't win a major ever again, but like most people never win a major in the first place. So, So who the fuck cares? You know, might as well take this one. Obviously, Dallas is not on the same level, but I think the storyline with Stewie and all of this just makes it so interesting. And what's also interesting is just the grand final. And I don't know if we want to kind of go towards that, but that fucking first map, just ZywOo versus mezii, that was fucking amazing. Like we don't really that often get both star players performing so well.
Yeah.
But in that first map, it was like literally each of them just taking turns doing like being unplayable. It's like getting 2 kills where they should get none. Like the fucking ZywOo walking. I think it was ZywOo when he walked into the library and just like no scoped someone. And it's like, nah, this is not how it goes, right? Then that whole like 2v4, the next round into the ZywOo round into the Stewie clutch is like, okay, fucking insane. So I think it's just something to enjoy for sure. And then again, that's also the annoying part is like you go into that grand final, mezii plays insane, and the thing that people have to say for some reason is like ZywOo shit. It's like, no, mezii is fucking insane. He played better. ZywOo did have a shit third map. That is true for sure. But it's like, just enjoy it for a second.
Yeah, I mean,
and don't like. And then the next step is like fake narratives, like ZywOo never performs in finals. It's like it's definitely not true. Like you can just say he didn't play well here and here and here. There, we don't need to make up a narrative for every single stage of every player. Like the one that does hold water is like ZywOo in major playoffs against top teams. He didn't really prove that much. That is fair. That is statistically correct. But everything else is just like trying to make someone look worse than they are for no reason.
I think one of the conversations, because we can start shifting over to, you know, we had mezii, Donk, and ZywOo there, and you're talking about the final between the two of them. Obviously, we had the semi-final with ZywOo and Donk in the mix as well. But one of the things with these players who get like god tier status, right, or superstar status, or however you want to frame them, they are going to be critiqued differently to normal players, right? I think that's something that can remain true still with what you were saying there, Prof, in terms of people trying to frame these narratives. I think that it's just part of where we are at the moment, which just seems like everybody wants to gravitate towards some form of outrage about something, right? Which is, you know, pretty common with the internet. It's not a new thing by any means, but I think it's something that generates conversation, right? Because we've known this for a very long time. I did desks for a long time, and whenever we would do like analytical breakdowns of things, and we would do rounds, or we would show like the cool nuances, people aren't retweeting that. People aren't having conversations about how cool that was, right? People just want to talk about like numbers and which players is my favorite player better than your favorite player, like people, because they're easier conversations, I would imagine, right? And it's easier for people to be like, I'm classic, I sound like fucking Joe Rogan right now, but the tribalism, right? People want to be on a team and they want to back their guy, and like people just want to argue on the internet as well.
I think that's the biggest part of it, though. like where those narratives usually also come from is because they are trying to prop up another guy, they have to put down the other, because like otherwise that guy, their first guy isn't the GOAT or whatever it is.
That's why it's very reductive.
Of course, yeah.
That's what's annoying.
But that's the whole like Simple versus ZywOo situation. Like it always had to be like putting down the other guy for some reason so that you support your point about the first guy being better, So like it's kind of like I get it where that comes from. Like people show their loyalty that way and all that stuff, but of course, like then you kind of tend to cherry pick the reasons for your argument and all that stuff. So it obviously gets biased. That's what fans do. So.
Yeah, I think that the thing is people are, as I mentioned to start this off, about star players, people hold them to a different standard. Yeah. So I think the expectation is that they're dropping godlike numbers every single map, regardless of opponents. And I think some of these things that I look at where people are, like I think Nero did that thing where he was comparing like group stage performance to like playoff performance and the drop off, right? I think something else that needs to be stated when you're discussing, and maybe it was in his article, I think it's important for people to understand this, is in the group stage, if you're a favored team, you are going to be playing against most likely some of the lower seeded teams in the entire event. So you will farm them because they will be worse teams. You might be playing against like the team from Australia or a really low seeded European team or an American team. And like you're more likely to farm them than you would other best Counter-Strike teams and players in the world in the playoffs. Right, I would assume when you play against other players of comparable ability, that your statistics will probably not be as good. Like that is kind of that's I don't know if that's a real thought or not. It's just the thought I'm having right now. But I feel like that probably plays a bit of a factor as well.
I mean, literally everyone gets worse the further they go in the tournament. That's just how it is. That's just
crazy.
Like
games,
there's maybe like one or two players that actually are better against the best opposition, but that's like anomalies, right? But even simple as ZywOo and fucking mezii and NiKo, everyone is worse against top 5 than against top 20. That's kind of how it works.
What did we think of Spirit's run? Because I don't know if it got stopped short. Right, I don't know how to frame it. Losing the vitality,
it's really
not a bad
shitty
loss.
Because they just played 7 maps and it looked pretty good overall.
Yeah, we thought FaZe was the other best team in the tournament, and they lost to G2. They got fucking stomped out by G2. It wasn't even fucking close.
I mean, we were talking about that leading up to the playoffs, right? We were like, okay, it's going to be a Spirit versus FaZe final, and that's like by far the most likely outcome, and then neither happens.
Yeah, I think for me that game they played Vitality, right? In the playoffs. That Gstew game was dog shit from Spirit. That was trash. I think first of all, I this is the first time that I saw Donk looking kind of lost in some rounds. On the CT side, for example, when they did like the B splits, there were rounds where he did nothing, and this is not something I ever see from him. Like even if he dies with a purpose, right? And here he was just like waiting for a timing that didn't really show up, and it was just like, okay, now they crunched the B bomb site, and now you lost a round. And then that T side was, I don't know what that's supposed to be, honestly. Like they're camping 5 people in lower tunnels and outside B for like 1 minute 20.
Yeah, and then they got flanked, right, by Spinks.
They got flanked, and then the next round they did the same thing again. It was like, okay, so you're just like you're giving long, mid, even T spawn to the fucking CTs. Like, what is this? Like, you have 5 people, maybe just like camp someone outside of long somewhere, maybe just like cover that area at least or something. I don't know.
I mean, it felt like that might have been, like, I was looking at it again, actually, and it felt like they thought they had a read on something and they just didn't, because Vitality were playing way more aggressive up top, up top mid and stuff like that. Like they looked like they wanted to hit B on a timing or like B split on a timing because they expect Vitality to do something, and then they didn't do it. It looked fucking horrible. I agree with that, but I felt like that was the only reason for what they did, you know, because they got smoked off in like upper tunnels, and I don't know if they spotted something in like VODs or something where Vitality doesn't smoke it sometimes, and that's where they can crunch it like instantly, like on a timing. I don't know what exactly made them do it, but that's what it felt like to me.
I think it was prep, right? Because Vitality had played Gstew matches earlier on in the tournament. And one thing that I was noticing with their Gstew was that they weren't taking a lot of like lower dark or mid space.
Yeah.
They were just playing like really static, like we used to back in the day, right? You know, 1B, 1 mid B, CT rotator, 1 guy goose, or like AWPing car and one anchor long. They weren't really doing anything like harassing tunnels and stuff a lot. And that's what changed in that game. They were being a bit more heads up and taking a bit more space, which was good to see. I think that's how you have to play Gstew. You need to make sure at least there's that question mark. But I still am like curious, right? If we're going and stepping back big picture for Spirit, which I know I said before, that's what we tend to do. Do we look at this as just like another stepping stone to like what would be where would they be trying to peak? I guess alone, but there's a long time until then. Maybe London, right? London's going to have a decent stack of teams, right? Starts in 7 days time. They play G2 in the opening game. They've got Vitality and they have Virtus Pro in their bracket. So maybe, like, I'm not saying they didn't want to win this event. Of course they did. But
I think both this and London is where they wanted to peak. They just really, they just got owned kind of by Vitality, and that's it. That's kind of the run ended there. Nothing really bad before that.
I mean, you also got to look at Donk, and he definitely slowed down way down in the playoffs. Like, he had by far his worst tournament so far, and that was basically by virtue of those 2 maps against Vitality. I mean, I think even at the one against FaZe, there was like one where he wasn't really doing anything. He didn't really have to either. So
I'm surprised
like,
they lost Mirage. Like, felt like Chopper was botting out hard on that map when I was watching. Just like a lot of the plays he was making didn't make sense. But yeah,
I mean, they're literally there just because they're alive just because of Shiro. He was pulling out some crazy shit on that map. So I mean, I think even though Donk's stats don't look that good there, he did pull off some crazy rounds on Mirage, like getting double naded and triple naded and whatever, and just still getting like 2 kills opening up a bomb site. So I don't mind the Mirage from Donk, honestly, but I think the whole team played kind of meh. And realistically, ZywOo also kind of owned them in a few rounds. Yeah, that like the last round where he just destroyed, I don't know, everyone in mid in like 2 seconds, and I was like, okay, GG, that's it. Because
also that's too, like when he pushed short through the smoke, like at the exact right time.
Yeah, the comeback looked possible for me on Spirit. I wasn't really, I didn't give up on them, like seeing them on Mirage, but it is what it is. The Gstew one was kind of fucked. I think they definitely need a lot of work on Gstew, like individually, but also as a team. So to be competitive now that they lost.
That's also another part of like why this event is a little bit weird to judge in retrospective, just because people are obviously going to be way more prepared on Vertigo, way more prepared on Gstew. They just didn't really have time for either so much in a lot of those cases. And Spirit especially, like they went into bed boom straight after, or like pretty quickly after Gstew came in, and then had to go straight into the new Vertigo, like everybody else had to as well, but Spirit just haven't had the time to actually get up to speed, I feel like. So that's also played a part where they possibly didn't have a lot of time for the new Gstew to come in, and so had to maybe put in some time into Vertigo instead. All that stuff like probably contributed to them not being up to 100%. That would have been the case for every team, but I'm just saying, like, what Prof, kind of reiterating what Prof was saying earlier about, it just wasn't an A game type of tournament from all the team, literally all the teams. So like in that, then you will see some weird disparity like this, that we saw this in the playoffs, especially where like these weird disappearances, where teams just don't feel prepared enough. I mean, especially FaZe on Gstew, Spirit on Gstew, like those two stand out in my mind the most, where they just did not look experienced on the map whatsoever.
They just made changes on their CT setups of Vertigo, Spirit, remember? They'd moved Donk over towards A, and they'd done so with their B setup with Zontix and Magix over there. So, yeah, look.
It just feels like, we have another 2 weeks before the spring final, where they will have, like, I'm sure people will be prepped for Vertigo. I'm sure they're going to stop dodging it, so they can't, like, suddenly, like, you have a much bigger choice, like, it's essentially, if you go down to a tournament, it's a 5-map pool, then, like, of course, it's just going to be, it's going to look different. So that's kind of where I'm looking towards and hoping to see a better game from everybody, not just Spirit.
Everyone had to play under the same conditions, and those conditions were perfect for a team with a stand-in to win it, right? But I think the conversation at the moment is, because we had this not that long ago about, like, obviously with the awards in mind for the end of the year, and these 3 players are the 3 players who we were discussing of, the top 3 players in the world right now. I guess with Modesty taking the MVP for the tournament, he would be in the lead in that regard, right? But is that recency bias playing in, or is that Is that what it's about at the moment, right? We should be using recency bias to measure who is the best Counter-Strike player right now. Like, what do you guys think of that sentiment?
I mean, Prof was complaining earlier, like last time when everybody was like talking about mezii because Donk wasn't playing anything for a while. I mean, now at least they have some fuel, to that, because like that's a tournament where he went way above Donk, like even surpassed him. I'm not even sure Donk will come away with an EVP. I don't like the way that I look at it now. Probably not. We haven't talked about it yet, but I would imagine not. And so that would be his first tournament without an award. mezii also had one. That was the last. That was Pro League, I think, where he wasn't that great, right? So that's like their awards will go very similar now, I think, because mezii had those 2 top EVPs. One of them very close to an MVP, and now he has an MVP, like very strong one to go alongside that. So like from kind of like a top 20 perspective, like if you look at it, stopping it now, it would be a very, very difficult call. Let's just say that, and so I would say there's definitely some merits to considering mezii at least definitely on par with Donk, if not better at this point.
I think mezii is the most exciting out of the 3 of them, right? I think just the way that he plays the game and what moments he can make happen. It's Simple-esque, right? And I know, like, not making that comparison lightly. Like, obviously Simple's not playing at the top of the game right now, but Simple was like a statement player in matches. Like, he would have a round that nobody thought was even fucking possible. And that's what mezii does. Whereas Donk has like the absurd consistency with the way that he takes his fights and the duels that he's winning. ZywOo is very good, right? ZywOo is obviously one of the best Counter-Strike players in the world, but I don't know, there's just something about the way it's their flair that is added with a player like mezii. I think mezii has, like, I definitely think ZywOo has ego these days. Like, he still doesn't display it the same way. Yeah. But I think mezii has ego. Maybe and I think he probably displays it in a healthy way. Like, he knows he's very good, right?
Sometimes I feel like he's overdoing it. But I mean, we saw that with Simple as well. How many times, and he was still by far the best player in the world at some point. So I feel like it's not too bad of a comparison to make. I mean, especially if you're that type of a player, you kind of have to accept that it will go both ways, because like you can't make the good plays without sometimes making the bad plays, because it's just you're putting yourself in a lot of risky situations. But like that's what you have to do if you want to take over games.
Should we move along, Prof? Do you want to get into this this graph we have?
We should do that. Yeah, I think that's a good moment for it, so we can talk about the teams in general a bit more.
Now I need to share my screen for this to happen, so give me a second. I'll make sure I do this correctly, but we're going to be looking at some of the teams from the event. We can do all of them if we want. Now, the terminology that you've chosen, Prof, I want to say I don't co-sign it. I don't co-sign the fraud rating as a name.
Do you want to rename it?
No, that's fine. We can keep it as fraud rating.
Fluke rating?
No, that's fine too. It just, I think it's aggressive.
One-time occurrence rating.
It's aggressive, and I feel like it's part of the hate culture at the moment, and I don't want to be a part of that culture. So I want to let everybody know. I can't see anything else besides. Can you guys see this? Has Lucas brought this up?
Yep.
Yes.
Is it full screen?
Not for them though. Not for them.
Yeah. Okay. But okay.
It is being shared though, right?
But if everyone closes their eyes, you can describe it to them.
I hit slideshow.
What should they see?
But if I hit slideshow, I can't move anything, so I can't be in. No,
you can.
Okay, so I have to be here. Okay.
Perfect.
So, Prof, do you want to explain the logic of how you would like to use said tool?
Essentially, we have 2 axes here. One is the sleep to fun ratio, and one is the fraud to repeatable ratio, like axis, right? So we just want to pick some of the most standout teams and like place them here and kind of talk about how likely we think they could repeat what they did here, and how fun was it to witness this.
Okay.
So
repeatable sleep. Let's go.
I don't even remember. Right? I don't think I remember a single FlyQuest moment. You put them like
they bottled a 12-4 lead on the second map versus Big to be eliminated from the tournament.
BIG, yeah. So there you put them highly repeatable and highly sleepy for you.
So does that work?
Yes, I think this is pretty accurate. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can start. I guess we can start with G2 now. Like if we're going.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do the controversy. Where would you like to put them? I'll put them in the middle to begin with.
Okay. like
we can move him,
far right in terms of fun. I think we can all agree.
Max to the max.
Like max fun. Like I have to like put my hands up to that. Like it is fucking amazing that they won. It was very entertaining the way that they did it. Stewie, not Stewie, it doesn't matter, like even, but it's kind of crazy how they did it.
The amount of highlights they had just to get to playoffs even was insane. That Liquid game had like 28 G2 highlights, and there was like 13-11 victory. So that was insane.
Yeah, I would say in terms of like the other axis, definitely down. And I'm like, it really was kind of like a perfect storm for them, like to win this tournament, like from a kind of individual perspective, like Hunter just coming to peak at the same time as the other two. Like it's already rare enough that NiKo and mezii both peak at the same time, and they really did. And then for Hunter to join them at the exact right time in the playoffs, I think that was like without the stand-in situation already. I think that's not super replicable for G2. But if you like combine it with the fact that like nobody picks fucking Mirage against them, nobody tries to punish them on their weak map. And like the way they won some of those games, like it's insane. Like it is high on like the fraud axis.
Would you like them to be lower?
Yeah.
Do you have an objection, Chad, or can I go next?
You can go next.
I want to say I want to object to this placement on the fraudulent scale.
Okay.
I honestly think it is not that unlikely to repeat. And with at least one reason
with another HooXi in the team. Let's just put it that way.
I'm not saying with Stewie because they're not going to play with Stewie again, but like G2 as a team.
Look, if they come, but that's not the same conversation. This is like them with Stewie, right? And like this is kind of not for this team, but like this situation for it to be replicable, like from that perspective.
Okay, I mean, I think it makes more sense just to talk about it from like doesn't.
Look, if it's from a G2, like then it's an entirely different conversation
because it's never going to repeat. They're never going to win another tournament with Stewie because they're not going to play with Stewie unless.
Who knows?
They sign him, but that's unlikely, right? That's not really But I think if you were just put it back, put HooXi back.
Okay.
And you already said that they have the best player in the world right now. You didn't say that directly, but you kind of implied.
Definitely possible. Yeah.
I think
from that perspective, okay, I get it.
I think they're completely within the reason to win more tournaments this year, and they already showed that with JKS last year, when obviously JKS and X are not the same, and JKS was playing better. But I think it's still realistic. I think it's just slightly above the zero. I think it's
repeatable. It's more towards repeatable.
Yeah. That's now Chad, you need to break the tie.
Well, I'm happy just to put it right in the middle here. Because
that's so boring.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
The perfect answer.
Fuck off with that.
That's the perfect answer.
Fuck off with that shit.
Like my point of view was because of like everything together, and obviously like if it's actually replicable, not actually replicable, I'm talking more about like the tournament and how unlikely it was, how fraudulent, quote unquote, it was. And from that perspective, I would put it way down. Like if it's replicable, not replicable, I don't know. Well, you can't judge it because if they're not going to play with a stand-in like this.
I don't think with this roster going into events, do you have them in the conversation now, Prof, alongside of Spirit, Vitality, FaZe, MOUZ?
No, but they have been just below that, I think, for this whole time of this year. And I think that makes them not favorites, but, not impossible. That's why
I think they've always had chances like to win tournaments, but they haven't really shown it this year so much. Like almost every one of their runs was kind of like not that impressive, even though it was in the playoffs. Like maybe the major one that was pretty good.
Well,
you have to
say, a guy in the chat says, "SPUNJ, this is a talk show, bro. Don't be scared to give your opinions. People want to know, but also
people just want to talk shit. That's all they want to do."
His name is I from the future, so he is from the future and he has an eye there, so he knows what's going to happen. He can't fuck up, right? You're not playing the same game, so.
Yeah. No, I've been beaten down. I just I can't. There's no point giving opinions anymore, Prof. People just get upset all the time. It's like, not trying to upset people. So I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna sit on the fence for everything, unless it's like blatantly obvious.
You're literally placing G2 on the fence.
Yeah, who cares, man? Like you say one thing one way, a whole bunch of people are going to abuse you. You say the other way, a whole bunch of other people are going to abuse
I'll ask
you.
you a
So you
question.
can't win.
I'll abuse you here because you're paying you to be here, so you have to.
You have to take some
do you
abuse
think
if you get your
G2
payment.
will make a change?
I think they should. I still think they should. Like,
do you think they will? Do you think they will?
I think they won't because of this result.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I honestly think people won't like this angle. But if there's the correct support around NiKo and they can stop pressure building up, I think he should just do a device. Like, I honestly think he should. I think they should just keep him and mezii, and then think about how many good players you could get around those two if NiKo's going to in-game lead. You already have an aggressive rifler, and you already have yourself the best AWPer in the world right now. Just get rid of everybody else and get 3 good players and think about how good G2 could be. Wouldn't it be a really good team?
Look, it is an amazing idea. It is absolutely amazing and an amazing idea on paper. But
just do it, man.
But we've seen how it goes before.
Yeah, but
NiKo can't take the fucking pressure.
He's matured, right?
He's not. Come on.
He's getting older.
He's not tilting at other people, but he's tilting at himself so much that he's just like,
he
you
did
can see
tilt
he
it
doesn't
next
have...
to that one round. I would have tilted it next to that one round too. For
everybody
fuck's
tilts.
sake.
Everybody tilts at teammates sometimes. Like when they fuck up, like in a really major way, in a major situation. There's a lot of adrenaline going on. You're just gonna be pissed off at a teammate every now and again. That's just competition. But I'm just talking more about like he can't forgive himself for like mistakes he makes. And imagine if you put like in-game leadership on top of that, you know.
I don't know, man.
Like, it's
he
really
just won
difficult.
a tournament in-game leading. So what does that tell you,
bro?
right?
I feel like,
but that's why I said like that's just this tournament is just going to delude G2 into thinking this is the way they're going to fragger and NiKo's going to give lead. I'm saying this will happen before the end of the year. By the way, like I will just put money on it.
NiKo IGL before the end of the year.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how bad. Well, I think they will probably keep this team until the major
at least. Okay,
yeah.
maybe
unless they bomb out significantly.
Does the winter break count before the end of the year, even if it's announced in January?
Well, that's the thing, though, right? Because the major's the last event of the year, so we'll only know the fallout of that by like December
January
10, right? So I think that there will probably, like, if it is going to happen,
doesn't the major end on like December 15 or something?
Yeah, it does. But that's why I'm saying, like, if they make it close to December 15, then they've done all right, right? If they are out by like December 10th, then they haven't made it past the second stage, so they're not in the playoffs. So at that point, you'd probably be considering a roster.
I mean,
change,
any
right?
announcement was probably going to happen in January. That's how it usually happens. So
yeah, because they're going to have to do everything. It'll give it pretty much a week and a bit later, we're straight into what's Christmas and shit. So yeah, I don't know. I would like to see like the thing is they go into the spring finals, but what is the expectation going into the spring finals? Like, is there an expectation on G2 in the spring finals? Did you have an expectation for G2 for Dallas if they had HooXi?
No, not after EPL.
Playoffs, like always, I think.
No, I wouldn't even put that after EPL. Like, they've been making playoffs all year, but they've been in like ways where they played a heroic team. Like in Katowice, they beat like a heroic team that only played their first tournament twice. Then at the major, we all know how they made it to the playoffs. At EPL, they beat mezii twice to make it to the playoffs and shit.
Yeah.
Like the way that they've been making playoffs
looks pretty
is ridiculous.
Looked pretty tough, right?
Yeah.
They had to, whatever.
Imagine if they could get Jimmy as an anchor.
I mean, there's a bunch of
God.
good anchors out there. Jimmy, I don't think they can get, but maybe I'm wrong. Magic, I also don't think they can get. Naf, like all of these players would be, especially Naf and Magic, considering their teams are kind of in dog shit form, right? That's when we're like, would be cool to see this happen. But it is what it is. And then Naf to G2 and Twist to Vitality, and we're cooking.
All right, let's try another team in the mix here. Let's go with mezii because they were kind of a surprise for the event.
Yeah.
So where would you put this roster, right? They made it to the semifinals. They even made a decent semifinal out of it. I understand it was another 2-0 result, but it was probably one of the more competitive playoff matches we had until the final itself. I know there's only a handful of games, right? There's only 5 matches in the playoffs because we keep doing dog shit formats. But what do we think about NiKo? Do we think I would have a hard time saying this type of a performance is repeatable when you look at who they beat. So like they beat Vitality in the seeding game, they beat Liquid in the game to qualify for the playoffs, and they beat MOUZ in the opener. So I don't think it's repeatable, but I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's not repeatable, but it was a really legit run from them. I think maybe people look at it as a fluke just because they're not going to do something like that again. But the way that they did it, it didn't look like they lucked out. You know, they really did play well to get there. Like that's
fun? Does that fall into fun?
That is definitely fun. Like I really liked watching them because they were quite explosive, but at the same time, like they were reserved in moments where they had to be. Like they actually did show kind of maturity beyond their experience, which like impressed me a lot. Even in that playoffs game they played against G2, that was pretty impressive. Like in some points, the way that they handled it. So I like,
But this is why I don't like the term fraudulent, because I don't. Right. I think that the result doesn't necessarily represent what we're going to get from NiKo on a consistent basis. But I don't think they're frauds.
Right. Yeah, but I mean that's why you have the scale. They're obviously. I think this is a pretty good place for them. Like. As Striker said, when you watch the games, it wasn't like, oh, this one thing happened, which like completely changed everything. I think like they played a lot of Dust too, which is like one thing where I think they got an edge, which can be the non-repeatable factor, right?
Right.
Because people get more used to it. But overall, they played pretty well. So I think there is some, potential to be competitive at events of this caliber. Getting to playoffs again, probably not.
It is just wild that they went from Chengdu last place to Dallas top 4. Like that's such a crazy turnaround.
Yeah, because especially the teams they beat on the way. Like they beat MOUZ, Vitality, Liquid.
The Vitality game, I still can't quite piece it together. But what do we think about Vitality? I think repeatable and fun. It was good to see mezii playing well. Yeah. I always love some Apex. Like Apex had a couple moments where it felt like he was the only one attempting to try and take over those games when the chips were down. So props to Dan. And like ZywOo in pretty good form for the majority of the event. Obviously, people are only going to remember the one that got away, aka Map 3 of the grand final.
Yeah.
But Vitality are a fun team to watch. I think that top 2 is very repeatable for them.
Yeah,
so I'm that's
hoping,
an easy one.
Like for the sake of mezii, I'm hoping this isn't completely a one-off, because that was a better playoffs than that was probably the best we've seen mezii. I think Vitality. That's probably the best mezii we've seen in Vitality so far, and it was like very legit. Like he was making plays in moments where he needed to, all that stuff. Like Spinks, like kind of disappeared for the playoffs, and mezii really needed to be there for them to make it over the line. So that part I liked, that he has that in him still, because we saw that in his previous teams, maybe that he has this kind of he has these peaks, but he doesn't necessarily have the position for it in Vitality most of the time. So the way that he found a way to peak that way was fun, and it didn't seem like he was doing like some crazy shit that he would never do again. It seemed pretty reasonable. So I like that part for sure. I don't know if that part is replicable for him, like if we're gonna see him get EVPs at tournaments, because he's very likely to get away with one from this. But other than that, I liked it a lot. That's kind of like
necessary that he's a contributing piece if this team wants to be good, because of the player that he's essentially replacing, right?
Yeah.
But I think that one of the conversations, and I was having this with Yanko a bit, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but it feels like Apex has to overcompensate either with calls or micromanaging or playing these positions that he plays, because it doesn't feel like there's a lot of trust in many of his players. I don't know if you guys get that vibe, but if you look at a lot of their CT sides, a lot of the rounds were aggressive, like really aggressive CT rounds, which were all ins, like shoves, like fired in towards second middle of Inferno versus G2, lots of lobby crunches on maps like Nuke. It didn't happen on all of the maps. Like I'm not saying it, and it didn't happen on all of the series, but it was something which they went to. And by doing that, you either win or lose the round in that opening gambit. Sometimes it's going to find yourself into like a 3v2 kind of mid-round situation, but a lot of the times you're either going to win the duels and give yourself favorable positions and you should be able to close from there, or you're going to lose the round because you didn't win those opening exchanges on those aggressive pushes.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest concern I have for Vitality is like, because I also think this is what plays into why Apex plays the positions he does within the team, is because I don't think he trusts that he has the players around him who can play those positions as they need to. So I think that's probably Vitality's biggest issue at the moment. But that is something that will change with time, because they will rack up more and more experience playing together, and then hopefully that trust factor will build, and then they can.
But they've been together. Things. I mean, apart from mezii, they've been together forever, right? This is not some new team or
Flamesy like joined last year as well.
I mean, it's a year. I mean, how much time do you want to give?
I know, but we're talking about this is a conversation we tried to have before, and you guys shut me down hard. But the players on the team that are experienced are Apex and ZywOo. I wouldn't say the other players on the team are experienced. Right? Like when we're talking about experience for the likes of Spinks, he only recently came to like the top of the pops with Ents.
But it's still a couple of years that he's been competing. Like in
who do you compare?
Some majors.
Who do you compare it to? Like who's more? Yes, FaZe is like the most experienced team in the world.
Yes,
but but Vitality is more experienced than MOUZ, than Spirit, than fucking Navi probably.
I know, but you're thinking about the type of positions and plays that we're talking about with these players in, right? And the fact that like. I don't know one way or another. I'd have to talk to Apex. I don't know if he would say, but the type of Counter-Strike that they're playing tells me that he doesn't necessarily trust them to make the right calls.
I mean, I wonder
maybe they trust them.
Maybe that's the part of it, where like we do see that Spinks just has. It's not like he's struggling to replicate the same form in playoffs, but there's some drop off there, and it's possible that it's also because he's not like taking the initiative, but he's also not in the positions where Apex, like he would be replacing Apex, So it's more like
I think Flamesy should be where Apex is in a lot of these rounds.
But he's not going to be. I mean, he will be taking initiative, but maybe in like an even crazier way than Apex would, because he's kind of an erratic player. So maybe if that's what you mean, then I get it. But then again, you kind of have to be like, it's a lot of the time is going to be the IGL who's going to make these like triple aggressive pushes and stuff like that anyway. Maybe sometimes it's just going to be from like, if you're on nuke, like it's going to be from ramp instead of from upper or whatever usually. But still, like I don't feel like it's that out of the ordinary for him to be in positions where he's going to call plays like this. Like you would see kariaN do this all the time.
But I think the difference is CT side positions.
Yeah,
right?
But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm talking about.
Think about them. They're very different. On Mirage, kariaN plays B. HooXi plays B. Apex plays connector. I don't have a problem with him playing connector because I understand the reason why he does it. Like you have Alexi who plays some of these better positions as well, right? But it would be a similar thing over there with Navi. Those players, didn't Blade refer to them as tier 3 players?
He did.
Yeah,
tier 2, 3 players. Yeah.
Yeah, like so Alexi playing Yard on nuke, he probably understands the smoke walls and the progressions and the space that's being taken, and probably watches all the demos and understands it better than everybody. It's like Apex as well. Apex plays outside because of like if he's on a heater and he's having a good game, you can see that he's able to understand and manipulate the rotations and always be in a like, okay, he's starting secret this round, or he's starting red polar, he's pushing Yard, he's doing a Yard control, right? But you're not. I would prefer if I had a player like a NiKo or a Rain, for them to be my Yard players, because not only do they have a high level understanding of the position, even if they don't, they're going to hit some fucking banger shots, like just pull rounds out of their ass and completely dominate those positions on the map because they are just individually very, very strong players. So like my point here isn't like, I think Vitality is still one of the best teams in the world right now. Yeah. But my biggest issue with them is I don't think that there's trust from Apex for a lot of his players. That's all.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's the reason, but I think we've been talking about this for a while, that the individual pieces have more potential than what the result is currently. And it doesn't mean that these pieces can work together on this team. Maybe they just can't, which is also fine, but I think all 5 players are great, right? I don't think, and that's why it's hard to be like, they should replace this guy for this guy. I don't think anyone's like, especially now after mezii had this great tournament, that you can just say, this guy is the problem.
Not as easy,
yeah. So, but I was very tilted by some of the Spinks rounds, watching them
seemed a bit
on
baity
Inferno.
In there, yeah.
And then
like, maybe he was lost, not even baiting, just like out of it.
He had a few baity rounds, and then he also had one round where like he was playing in apps, and the rest of his team is on B, and they're rotating back, and he went for an aggro play and died to like a low buy of. He went like through apps, like to peek into the site. He died there, and then a player, I think Hunter, pushed apps and got into boiler, and then got like more kills. And so the one round where he should have just chilled, they didn't. he didn't. And then that round was like a 2v3 with him and ZywOo, and ZywOo went B, and he was lurking A. That lurk was like, that was awful. That is like how people on my matchmaking team play. Like, take that wide peak onto long and just like stand in the middle of everything trying to catch the guy rotating. Is like, this is just like such a 50-50 random duel that you're taking when you have so many options to play with, and one of them just being staying alive, which is so valuable for ZywOo, who has an op on B side. Was like, he's gonna kill 2 for sure, and he did. But yeah, he got traded in the end and like last second diffused. So stuff like that, kind of missing the mark in some of these rounds. Was, if you look at his stats for the playoffs, they're not bad at all, but key rounds didn't really deliver.
Yeah, all right. Let's whack a few more of these names up here. I'm going to throw Falcons here. How do we feel about that?
I don't fucking remember what happened.
Yeah,
with Falcons at
exactly.
this
So
point.
maybe
What the
even
hell?
higher on the sleep ratio over there. Yeah.
Oh, they lost to G2 on Liquid. I'm trying to remember the Liquid game.
Whatever.
Liquid, the Liquid game was an interesting match. That's for sure.
Twists fucked them up on Ancient. They almost came back. I remember it now.
Got like 36 kills.
I
or
think we
something
can put
on
in the one more team that I want to put in, and then I'm fine, is MOUZ.
Okay.
Let's put that on like fraud and sleep in the down down there. That's fucking bullshit. What was that? what the hell was that?
But
like the way that they set it up too, like they set themselves up for failure. Like realistically, they should have even then made it further. Like that G2 game, they should not have lost. I think that was just like some crazy G2 bullshit that just got them over the line. But still, like the fact that you don't practice before the tournament, fuck off with that.
Liquid. Yeah, Liquid. Let's see what happens. I don't think we'll hear.
Well, the
anything.
results we already knew. Like this is as far as I am aware, the like cadiaN's already out, right? Like that's as far as what I'm aware. So and I'm pretty sure that was the case going into the event. I don't think anything could have happened at the event that would have salvaged it, right? So the result of the event was fraudulent because the roster was already going to change, but it's fun because it's like a soap opera.
Right.
Yeah.
But they were also pretty close to making playoffs. It's not like it was a terrible event for them. That was the G2 game, one Inferno, where they just decided to like be 8-4 up and decided to force buy 3 times in a row or some shit just to keep pressure up for no reason. So like also from that perspective, they could have made it to playoffs, you know. So it's like they've been on a good run, but apparently it's been possibly through like a lack of pressure just because everybody knows it's over already. I don't know.
Paul Bum 123. cadiaN out confirmed? Question mark.
I've got
under what rock is this guy hiding?
not confirmed, but like that's also like it seems like that's where it's heading for sure.
I can say just like being on the ground has only on American soil has only reinforced the idea that cadiaN is completely gone from this team. It's like 100%. Like it's not gonna.
Go
it's not going to
99,
magically
bro. Give yourself some plausible deniability on the way out the door. Go 99, never go 100, all right?
I'm not saying he's not going to play more tournaments.
Oh, okay.
You know, you never know what's going to happen. They need to play outs and stuff. Maybe they can't find a replacement, you know, these kind of things. Unlike, you know what Heroic did with cadiaN, like benching him and then losing half the team. Who the fuck knows? Maybe, you know, Liquid loses all of it. Maybe, you know, maybe Twist leaves, maybe Naf leaves, and then, you know, maybe they don't have anything else. They need to rebuild around cadiaN.
Good luck having enough money to buy either of them, though, at least, especially to
I'm just saying, like OverDrive level rumor. I have an OverDrive level rumor. Are you ready?
How many millions for Twists?
I don't know. No, nothing to do with Twists.
Okay.
I heard this is an OverDrive level rumor.
Can you explain? Can you first of all explain what that means? Like,
because I don't remember who I heard it. I don't know who I heard it from. I just heard it.
Maybe you heard it from you, Striker. He's gonna leak your shit right now.
It's not based. Oh, maybe.
I don't think I told you it. Just say it. I'm not gonna confirm or deny. I don't know.
I think FURIA are trying to get skullz.
Okay.
That's all I got. That's all I got. So but like I said, I have nothing to back that up with. I just, you know, you hear
for Kiserato or instead of, or
I think instead of this Kai kid, right?
That would be interesting.
Well, they definitely need more passive players over there, right? All right, we got a few more teams to throw around, gentlemen. Help me out here a little bit. FaZe top 6. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, they also got destroyed by Spirit.
The way
so.
It's
yeah,
like here,
they
repeatable
didn't get
and
destroyed.
not fun.
No, the Spirit game was pretty good. That was pretty fun to watch. They possibly should have even won the first map. Trying to remember what happened on the second, but I know it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I didn't like it particularly much. It seemed very like the Gstew game that they played against G2, like that just left such a sour taste in my mouth. I understand it. They haven't played it, blah blah blah, all that stuff, but cried kind of crazy.
Honestly, this Spirit, I think it needs to go next to like 9Z somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't. No, actually, fuck. What am I talking? It wasn't that fun. It needs to be.
But you can't say it was fraudulent. It has to be on the repeatable side. It needs to be like near FaZe.
I feel like they need to be better. I think they need to be better than that. But somewhere around FaZe, yeah. I would put them below FaZe on repeatable. I think they are going to be better.
Below FaZe on
Yeah.
repeatable.
Because like I think they are going to go deeper. I think they were supposed to go deeper.
Okay.
FaZe who was supposed to go deeper?
Spirit.
FaZe were supposed. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Interesting. Well,
Okay.
I don't know about you, Prof, but FaZe were playing against the team with a stand-in, who then had 9Z as their next opponent in the bracket.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's
I am
fair.
a little bit
You
like
can swap that around, do whatever you want.
as far as
Spirit
FaZe
lost their
go.
vitality.
I'm a little bit worried about like Frozen's drop off. Like he's kind of like he went from being way better than we would have expected. Like he was pretty much their best player, I think, for the first maybe 3 months, and then now he's dropped off to being their third, fourth potentially, like on some in some moments. So I'm not sure.
They lack
what
a
to,
glue guy, I think. Like they
You
have
think?
their space creators in cadiaN and Rain, but I think Twist did an awful lot to help set up and sacrifice a lot more in mid rounds. Whereas I think that Frozen and Rops are very similar, and a lot of people on the forums would call them betas. I just think if we reframe that into finishers, both of them are like able to finish rounds really strong. But I think someone in that moment either needs to understand how the players around them are going to play, which either comes from chemistry or it comes from really good communication. And if two players like. I would remember when I was in clutches, and I understand we're not talking the same level of CS, everybody. Yes, I'm dog shit. Yeah. Fuck all of you. But when I was in clutches, I knew when I would play with Justin, for example, that he would be a bit more passive. So I was the one that would have to initiate, and then he would close on whatever movements I would go with. Or if I was with another guy and we both like to take a bit more space and he had better aim, like Azza, for example, then I would set him up to take that fight, right? So I think with Frozen and Rops, they both kind of want to do the same thing to close out rounds. And their other guy that's normally left with them in the clutches, like the whole game plan of FaZe is to get Rain and cadiaN to put the other three in round winning scenarios because they can just like play better, right? Like that's what FaZe do. They don't beat you with executes, or they can do, but that's not how they're like geared to win rounds. So I think that's the overlap. One of the two of them needs to sacrifice or be more malleable in those kind of scenarios. That's just my diagnosis.
I mean, they were also talking about, it seems like it's just been a long season for them as well. So maybe it's just down to having some sort of a break and then coming back refreshed because they were kind of on this long run. It's not like it hasn't stopped. Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people are complaining about like being it being a long season already.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna hate it when the major comes.
Yeah.
And it's the last.
I'm
season.
ready. I'm ready for this. This is like it's happening. Everyone, it is happening. Everyone's gonna start from the first event of the year that starts on like January 15th. They're gonna go hard, and then they're gonna come to fucking May, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I played so much. This is so bad." It's so annoying. And
I mean,
also
that's what is going to happen. Like I also feel the same way.
They also have to do it next year because of all the invite and RMR bullshit. So, and the Valve ranking. So, great.
Yeah. Let's talk about that in a moment because that's our next line of conversation. We're going to talk about open qualifiers and stuff. We could talk about that there. Do we want to throw any more of these names up here?
No, I don't care.
I think we've done the interesting ones. The rest, whatever, we can talk about at a later date. All right. Lucas, stop sharing my screen with everybody right now so I can take this down and we can keep moving along. Maybe run some ads, Lucas, if you can. Can we do that? All right, cool. Let's do it. BRB, everybody.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
Changing, but one thing remains the same: victories with 1xBet.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph, and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.
We're back. It was a false start, but we're back. I promise we're back. All right, thanks for bearing with us for the ads. We're going to pivot into some news that came out essentially just after we finished the live show. I think we went, did it even happen during the live show? I'm not sure exactly, but
just like 2 hours later, I think.
Yeah.
Or so. Yeah.
So if you missed it, this is to do with the Perfect World Shanghai Major for 2024, the last major of the year. We were talking about it a little bit earlier about, it's going to end up on the 15th of December will be the last day. I think that'll be the day of the grand finale. But they revealed the schedule for the qualifiers and the RMR, along with some updates that were in the Valve rulebook. And the biggest takeaway from all of that was essentially to do with open quals being removed from the qualification process to the major. And with that came an onslaught of social media conversations and pleas and petitions.
Bro, the petition. Sign my petition.
Sign my petition. I thought I was fucking... I went out for on the Monday in Dallas. Me, Alex, and Dinko went to go get some barbecue, and we're going to a Patagonia store, and there's a bunch of people out the front with WWF trying to save the planet. Fucking petitions and shit. I thought we were doing that.
Did you tell them you're going to buy a FlyQuest jersey instead?
Yeah, I did. Save a koala. Pandas. Yeah.
Whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Could have, Anyway, we won't talk about them either. All right. So this
Someone just wrote, add to me, your hairline is fraudulent. I actually think Chad's hairline is more fraudulent. Mine is just bad.
I just moved my hair from the back to the front, but
redistributed.
Yeah. It cost a little bit of money, but it all worked out. Where were we? Okay, so about the open qualifiers being gone. Now, I feel, gentlemen, that the three of us have discussed previously on an episode, or maybe multiple episodes, about next year when the circuit goes full open, that there was likely going to be the removal of RMRs anyway, which would
ironically the removal of open qualifiers,
which would have come with the removal of open qualifiers because there would have been no RMR for them to qualify to. So to see this news come out now, I'll be honest, I was not surprised. That surprised Pikachu face? I don't know if people use that ironically or not, but that was kind of neat. Yeah, okay. Well, surprise Pikachu face. So I don't know. Like, where do you guys fall on this outrage about the removal?
I just don't understand why they did it.
Why now? Yeah, I don't know either. I guess they could have just waited until next year when they removed the RMRs, and then they would have just removed everything at once. Maybe it's preemptive. I was trying to think about the why they would do it now. Maybe it's preemptive in the sense that they're trying to get actually, I don't know.
Maybe get like more buy-in into the Valve ranking or what? Like, I just don't. And this is the annoying part, is like, I have no idea why they did it. And I don't even want to speculate. And everything that I've heard and read just seems ridiculous and stupid. Like they're removing it because of cheaters. And like people are claiming this. Okay, you can claim this, but people are just like so convinced this is the reason. It's like, but why would it be a reason when we did this for fucking 12 years and we did it for the last major? And yeah, there were issues. We still got teams through in the end.
There's issues every major.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see why. This is not really how Valve operates, in my opinion. Like what they would find like a very extreme solution to a thing that's not an extreme problem. I don't think it. I don't see it at all as being the reason. So for me, it's just confusing why they would decide to do this right now. That's it.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest qualms that probably has some legitimacy to it that people are getting a bit up in arms about is because we still have the partner teams right now. So the partner teams are going to benefit, obviously, in the lead up, but when you need to have because there'll be closed qualifiers still. How many teams participated in the closed qualifiers? Wasn't it like
double of the
64
RMR,
teams?
Double of the RMR, yeah.
Yeah, so
be
64 teams. So all of the partner teams would make it into that cut regardless, right? And then that would only make up, how many partner teams are there across both events? If I round up without counting, maybe 14. And of those 14, there's only a few of them that are bad and don't deserve it, like OG and NIP and Fnatic. So I could list a couple more, I'm sure, and sure
even
I'm
then, like
some.
those would still fall into like the top
64 teams,
30 probably. Top 30 they would still make it, like based on the Valve ranking probably. So like the top half that gets, or like the half that gets invited or whatever, probably would still happen like that.
Yeah,
so it doesn't really matter so much.
So then the RMR invites are going to be decided off of Valve's regional standings or the closed qualifiers. So if you're one of the best teams in the world, like a Spirit or a FaZe or a Vitality, you'll be invited just directly to the RMRs. And if you fall into this other category we're talking about, then you'll go into the closed qualifiers, which is going to have a shitload of teams there anyway. But I think this is the thing where people are missing the boat, right? And I don't know this to be true. I just am going to make a guesstimation based off of the way Valve have operated up until this point, which might be a good thing to do and might be a bad thing to do, but fuck it, we'll do it anyway. I would imagine next year, everybody live in a hypothetical world with me. If we have an event, let's just say it's IEM Dallas, and IEM Dallas, ESL are allowed to invite 8 teams based off of the Valve rankings. So they invite 8 teams off of the Valve rankings, and then they would have to qualify another 8 teams. And I assume that those 8 teams would, not all of them, but like there would be a certain amount of slots in a qualifier process along the journey that would come from open qualifiers. So any event that wants to run next year to be part of the circuit to contribute to Valve major ranking points, which then qualifies you for the major, would have to have a component of the event to be an open qualifier, which then looking
just before you go further, did you just pull that out of your ass, like the half and half split, or is that just like an example of how it could work? Because I don't know about the requirement of it being like an open qualifier. I don't think that that's been necessarily been said anywhere. I think technically, I mean, out of what has been said, technically you could just invite all of them based on Valve ranking. But I don't know if, like, of course there are rules we haven't heard.
Yes, so some of this is me thinking what I would think would make sense, and some of it is also talking to people who
know better,
who have a vested interest in this.
Right. Okay.
Right?
I was just curious because I 100% agree that would make perfect sense for them to force like an open part of a tournament, especially if exactly this is their intention, to keep the openness of the major embedded in the qualification towards it in some way. Of course, it would be more detached, and it wouldn't be direct. It's just not about one fluke, quote unquote fluke. I'm just like thinking one time, one-time qualification, and then rather spreading it around across multiple tournaments, or a lot of tournaments as it's going to be next year.
Yeah. I want to explain to J. David Aguedlo, how are tournaments with invites any different to the partnered leagues? Because next year, which is what we're discussing, the invites to the tournaments would be based off of the Valve rankings. And the Valve rankings would take into consideration any tournament that is part of their system, and that the ranking there is determined by LAN, prize money, teams that you beat. So it is the definitive leaderboard that will be the contributing factor to who qualifies for the major.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, that where we think, I don't want to talk for Prof and Striker here, maybe you guys don't think this, but I don't think there'll be RMRs next year, which we've discussed several times before, which would mean that all of the events that you play in throughout the season would directly assist in you qualifying for the major.
I think the fact that there are still open qualifiers across most of Asia probably makes me believe
that region might still have RMRs.
Asia still might have RMRs. Possibly
is that because
also
it's
America in some way.
underserviced? Do you reckon?
I mean,
it's
of course,
underserviced?
there's not enough data for you to be able to accurately determine what the top teams in each of those sub-regions are. That's why they all have all the open qualifiers, because there's like their data points are like 5 teams, 10 matches across the last 3 months or whatever. So it's like they can't accurately determine who the best teams in those sub-regions are, even though in the entire region as a whole, maybe you have a decent idea just because they all play in the biggest tournaments, they constantly qualify, so like they're so far ahead of everybody else in Asia that it's obvious. Like, I mean, we can look at it now and say, okay, it's obvious that the Mongols at least is one of them 100%. Like, there's not even a discussion, and then you can talk about some of these Chinese teams as probably the second. So from that aspect, and also like I've had a conversation with them that definitely makes me believe that is a problem in the scene that they don't know how to solve. They cannot solve, even because there's not enough tournaments happening there for you to have the data for them to then decide, and then imagine from next year, the ranking's not going to be everything. It's just going to be the big tournaments. Then of course you're literally going to have zero info on who's the best teams, who are the best teams in those regions, So from that aspect, I think if I had to guess, they would keep RMRs in at least Asia. I would not be surprised if Americas was also in part like qualification rather than just ranking.
Yeah. Prof's doing his best to answer some questions in chat.
So many questions, and like
we don't actually have real answers. We have speculation.
Mostly speculation, like what has been written, what we like spoke to Valve, what other people spoke to Valve, what they said, and kind of trying to put things together. Obviously, until it comes out, we can't really know, and I think this is also why hopefully it comes out sooner rather than later, so people can question and
they're
understand.
Probably still working through things, like honestly.
Yeah. So I mean, generally, like next year is definitely going to be like a test run for everybody, for them included. For them to figure everything out, how it's going to work, what are the problems of what they created, all that stuff. Like, it's just going to be a work in progress.
I can just read the quote because I went back to find the announcement they made. Blah blah. Here are the broad strokes. Tournament organizers will no longer have unique business relationships or other conflicts of interest with teams that participate in their events. Invitations to all tournaments will use our ranking system, detailed here, or otherwise be determined by open qualifiers. So I guess based on this, it could be full invite as well, just based on this phrasing here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Yeah, but I would understand if they forced some way, some of it to be open. But then again, like then you get into the problems of like which regions do you have to include, all that stuff. Like I think that's so tedious that it might be a problem.
Whoa, hold up. Okay. I don't, this isn't definitive, but like I said, I was talking to people who they should definitely be more in the know than we are.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that there has to be a portion of these events that have open qualifiers, because otherwise it would completely fuck everything if there weren't. Because
of course, like if you just invite straight everything.
But now this is speculation on my behalf, but let's say that Mongols was the 10th rated team in the world, and a tournament came around and 2 teams before them in the top 10 denied a spot at the event. They said, no, we don't want to go. And Mongols said yes. Okay. Mongols represent the region of Asia.
Yep.
Okay. Then what if it worked out in the sense that you invited one team from Asia off the top whatever list, and it's a 16-team event. So now you have to run an open qualifier for another Asian team to qualify for the event.
That's interesting.
Like,
That's what
I'm
but
just talking out of my ass here, but
that's what I was thinking, that like if you wanted to force an open portion of a like qualification portion, then you'd also have to be fair about it to some level, right? Because then you could also just limit it to just Europe, and that also like exacerbates the problem, you know.
yes.
For example, so like from this perspective, I feel like it's too tedious for you to make it fair. So I don't know what they're going to do about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the ranking is split up. Like there's no world ranking for Valve.
Well,
There's
they just
Europe,
combine it.
Americas, and Asia.
There is a combined one, I'm
But
pretty sure.
in the game, I think the combined one shows or something like stuff like that, you know.
But it feels like they are gonna just like kind of split it up in terms of, because as you say, it's not really fair to compare people that play completely different tournaments, right?
Yep.
So I mean, people are asking a lot of questions. There's another question. Oh, I just wanted to read the last line, and the last line was any compensation for participating teams, prize pool or otherwise, will be made public and will be driven by objective criteria that can be inspected by the community. And I think this is funny because like the first and the last kind of contradict. It says like tournament organizer will no longer have unique business relationship or other conflicts of interest. And they say any compensation for participating teams, so essentially like pay someone to attend, you can do that, but you just need to put it out there. So it's kind of like it's not really as strict as
Isn't that
it's
like
being
tennis
made.
though?
Yeah, but I mean, like, just in random example, let's say that the esports World Cup wants to pay every team like 100K to attend. They can do that.
But they would still have to invite the teams based off of the ranking.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you would
They
still
have
only
to
get
somehow
what you get.
incentivize them to accept the invite, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that definitely it's good for people to be skeptical, because a lot of the stuff that we're saying like isn't gospel. And I think it's a good time to have these type of conversations. I think that the bit that bothers me is the announcement happens and people are like, "Oh, Valve, you fucking suck. How dare you remove?" It's like I think that people forget Valve's entire kind of mantra when it comes to Counter-Strike if they think that they would remove the option of teams being able to qualify. It just means that you can't just fluke one event and then get, you know, the whole point is
it will make majors more prestigious in some way, just because
it should raise the quality, really.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a better way to put it, actually. That like the teams there should be at a higher level, just because you're not going to get some fluke through the qualifying process.
So just a few more questions. Would with ranking or open qualifier a blast final still work? Answer is no. This will definitely not. It cannot exist. The blast circuit cannot exist as it exists right now, with like the group stages and then having playoffs, and also the world finals can't exist. I mean, it can't.
Well,
actually, just
the thing
to be
is,
clear,
they can.
Anything can exist. They're not like going to deny you the right to host a tournament, but at least from my understanding is if you don't have, you know, all of the ranking teams and all of the invites, then this tournament is not going to count towards the Valve ranking.
I think you're just not going to get a license whatsoever. I don't think it's just about the ranking. You're just not going to get a license for that. Anyway, the point is though that I had something on my mind and then I forgot it.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct, but I think a lot of that license stuff is where it's very unclear what is actually required and what the protocol is from Valve's side. So it's
what were we talking about just before we got to, just before we read out that question or read out that part?
Something invites. I don't know.
I had a point. I'll get it.
If it comes
I'll get
back,
it somewhere. Yeah, it will come back.
The other qualm, I suppose, that happened with this was the overlapping of dates with Blast, right? Wasn't that one of the issues?
I just realized, okay, before I forget again.
Yeah.
About the thing like a world final couldn't exist. Technically, if you consider events leading up to the world final, you know, like Cologne and all these things, like as a qualifier, you can make this work, because they can also count as a qualifier for another tournament, you know, and then you win that tournament.
That feels like abusing the
Isn't
rules.
that how
No,
the
it's not.
EPT
It's
works
not, because
right now?
it's not, because I mean, you can still like I don't know how much, like how far removed
But it's not.
could be.
It's
like
not an open qualifier if you're
It doesn't.
already
No, it's not about open.
predetermined.
Oh, well, I guess that depends, right? It's what you. But if it's if it does include already some open teams, then it is like in some way an open qualifier, is just a closed qualifier, just in a very prestigious, let's say, format, you know.
Yeah.
But like technically, you could use that as your qualifier for that event, or like part of a qualifier for that event. And I mean, why wouldn't you be able to do that? Then again, like, okay, if you win a Cologne, like, of course you get to go to like an end of year, like in 4 months' time, you're gonna get to go.
But that's
to
the thing. I don't think you can. I don't think they essentially said you can't do that.
I think
essentially
you technically could make that argument for them and say like this is a qualifying part of it. But I don't know.
I think you could do something like, for example, if you win Dallas, you qualify for Cologne.
Right. Yeah.
But a portion of Cologne would still need to have positions
like
that come through and qualify. Whereas the World Finals is an amalgamation of the best teams throughout the season, invited based off of other portions. I don't think.
Yeah, but I'm saying
fly.
like, let's say, of course, like you can't make a World Final out of just like the teams that you invite, then it just becomes cyclical, right? But I'm talking about like if you have a multiple events that are like let's say that have open qualifiers in them, then why wouldn't you be able to use the winner of that to be able to qualify for like some end of year? The thing is, like, I don't know.
Well, isn't that what the major is? Like,
I mean, yeah, they've
kind of lost their domain with that.
Could be to some degree that, right? But anyway, like I don't think that's necessarily impossible for you to have some sort of a link between your events, as long as it's like limited enough, you know, where you don't use it in some way to cheat the system, you know, where you just invite the teams that you want.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from this, if because I'm sure we'll hopefully hear more about this in the near future. Just the last part was the Blast Premier World Finals that we were just discussing, as overlapping with some of the RMRs.
Actually, what was maybe more interesting is like the small distance time between the RMR and the major.
Yeah,
it's like 4 days between the EU RMR and the major.
Kind of crazy.
That is kind of crazy. I don't know what to think of. I don't see why that's a thing. That seems wrong to not.
Well, I guess everyone will already be in China, won't they, Prof? You won't have to worry about getting another visa again.
I mean, that's literally there is no reset for those teams. So essentially, all of the EU teams,
they're going to be there for 4 weeks.
At least the ones that are playing the last EU RMR are realistically in a disadvantage, considering they just need to be there for the whole thing. And I don't think that's good. Honestly, I just think that's pretty shit right now. Funnily enough, no one is complaining right now.
Yeah, because they're not there yet. Because they're not very capable of looking ahead.
Exactly.
Wait a few months.
Which is all we do is look ahead.
I have seen some people talk about it on Twitter. Nothing too crazy, but like I think it will dawn on people once we get there. Or at least close to when we get there, because they're going to start planning all the travel and all that stuff. And they're going to be like, oh.
Yeah, especially when people have to go and get visas and everything, and they see what type of situation they're going to be in for. But I'm glad that we had a bit of poise before this news came out, because it was reaching quite a fever pitch on the first day when people were talking about this. But I am glad that, we've been able to talk about this to some length. Okay. Let's jump into the recent news. Play the bumper, Lucas. All right, well, in the recent news, that's where all the news channels I watch do quizzes. So we're going to do Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Tradeit.gg. Life's a quiz, guys. You know, what's going on in the geopolitical situation of this part of the world today? We're going to be taking a look at this. The questions are done by Dimitri, I'm sure, and apparently I'm answering them. Do you know if there's a theme, Prof?
There is a theme.
Okay.
It's a spelling bee quiz.
Okay. I like this. Let's do it. All right. I'll give you 30 seconds, Lucas. You can have it. Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Tradeit.gg. If you haven't played before, you need to type Tradeit in chat right now. That'll be your raffle ticket to enter the draw. The winner will get one denomination of skin voucher to use at Tradeit.gg, depending on how many questions I get right and or wrong. The grand prize could be 50 schmackaroos. All right, let's go. Question number 1. Which the spelling is correct? B. Correct. All right. Nice. It's going to be hard for me to read this out, isn't it? ZywOo.
Yes, but you got the right one.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2.
I get a sense like there's going to be some real fuckery later, like with how easy the first one question was.
How many eyes does Complexity's player Oppa have? Is that I's or L's?
Yeah.
I guess it's L's.
I mean, that says at the end it says he has no L's. So
okay, 2. All right, correct. 2 from 2. All right, that ain't bad. We take that. I've already done better than I thought I would. Question number 3. Russian player, also known as the Steam code. I know this one. It is X5G7V.
yes.
We're at 750. All right, 15 or 50 on the table. Question number 4. Which spelling is correct?
Norbert.
The first one. Bang.
You're a genius, Chad.
Rush did one of these. He did a couple of these during ESL Pro League, and I competed in one against Hugo. I think I absolutely smashed it. All right, question number 5. Which sequence of letters is present in the nickname of MOUZ's young anchor? PP.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, why is it taking so long?
Well, I just wanted to make sure I read the question correctly. All right, 5 from 5. Damn. Well, we sped run that. That was way
That's
too
like
quick.
you go.
Yeah, okay.
Dimitri, like just for a piece of context that might be relevant to why these questions were so easy. Dimitri is currently in Abu Dhabi covering a tournament.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you, Dimitri, for going to the trouble regardless. That's 5 from 5. We've got one lucky winner who's going to win a $50 skin thanks to trader.gg. It is Interlooper. And then it's spelled with 2 zeros. Interlooper, congratulations. Our people reach out to your people. We'll get you the skin. The voucher for the skin. Thanks to trader.gg. Everyone put some love hearts in the chat for trader.gg. You better do it. That's what streamers say. All right. Okay, now we're going to do... Lucas, do you need some time to get the next thing ready? All right, cool. We're going to do what are the odds, because we're going to talk about Yellow Compass, which is going on right now. I don't know if the matches are all finished or not, but it was best of one starting at 10 a.m. today. For those people who aren't familiar, it is a 12-team tournament with a prize pool of $400,000, $200,000 for first prize. It's taking place in Abu Dhabi. And some of the main names that are there are like Astralis, the Mongols, Complexity, Eternal Fires there, Heroic. So we'll go through that in a moment, but we're going to do what are the odds and talk about one of the mainstays, or probably the favorite going into that event, which would be Astralis. They're the highest rated team as per the HLTV World Rankings. They're currently 7, Heroic 8, Complexity 10. You can go down the list, but Astralis on paper, with that in mind, would go into the event as the favorite. So what are the odds Astralis will win a notable trophy this year? Does Yala count as a notable trophy?
Yes.
Okay, so how are we defining that?
It's basically what shows up in the profile, and that means like whatever we think is a notable event, and that means effectively it's MVP events. And then I don't actually remember if we include anything other than an MVP event, but
like
effectively
2 top
like
10 teams at least, or something like that.
Effectively events that have like at least like a fight for a top 10 basically going on.
Okay. Now I'm a big fan of the Astralis roster. And I think that they can very well win this event. I saw people in chat saying, lol, they lost to Sashi. I think I said it's best of one group stage round robin. So by losing to Sashi, they're not out of the tournament whatsoever. They just need to place top 3 within their group. And I'm not sure the rule book that they have over there for Yellow Compass in terms of head-to-head or round difference.
You know, so who's the rule book expert?
Well, he'll be making a return. I saw a question today on the internet. Will Spreadsheet Man be returning for this event, Striker?
Yeah, but it's going to be too quick for me to actually go through, because they're going to play everything like so quickly after one another tomorrow that it's going to be kind of difficult to make some quick deliberations on what's who's actually out, who's not out, and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be interesting tomorrow for me. Let's just say that.
All right. Well, there's a lot of games being played over the course of these 2 days before the playoffs kick off on Friday, which is another 6-team fucking dog shit bracket. Fuck my frustrations. But anyway, so what are the odds that Astralis wins a notable trophy this year? Now, keeping in mind we are only in June. June has just begun. I'm going to say they're probably going to play in at least another 6 notable events for the rest of the year, at least. Right? I think I may be downplaying it a little bit there. So I'm going
they have,
to...
like, even now they have like, okay, Compass Spring Final, EPL Season 20. Before that, they're going to be invited to Cologne, surely, in some way. So Cologne, and then by the end of the year, there's going to be like another fall full final, possibly major, possibly IEM Rio. Who knows? They're one of those teams who could skip it. You know, there's a decent amount of chances.
Honestly, I think obviously Yala Compass is their best shot. And that raises the odds significantly. The rest is like 1 in 10 for
Yeah, it gets
each
much
of them,
tougher.
right?
Yeah.
You know, because considering how many good teams there are around. I'm actually gonna go like pretty low. I'm gonna get like a 25%.
Whoa.
I think that's fair considering how tough the rest of the season becomes for them, right? Even if you project them to be one of the best teams in the world, let's say you consider them to be at some point this year a top 5 team in the world, it's still going to be difficult for them to win, right? Because right now the field seems relatively open or more open. So I think, Prof also being an Astralis hater probably plays into this an awful lot. So
Absolutely
I want to go like I did last week with the Stewie one, because now he's definitely getting picked up. Now he's 100% getting picked up. I want to go 70% that will win a trophy this year.
Okay.
How much is that based on how big? Okay, what would the percentage be just for Compass?
Well, I think because they're going into Compass as the favorites, probably 30% of that is based off of Compass.
Okay. I would probably give you more than that. More than 30 out of that.
Nah. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be good. So,
okay. I mean, I would still go. I'm definitely going to go above 50, especially because of Compass. It's not like they're going to have like, even odds wise, like it's not some massive chance that they're going to win Compass, because there's like 3 teams within a decent, like another 3 teams within a decent shot. So it's not like mega high, but I would say like 55% I would give them, because I do think that they're going to be in a decent shot to win something by the end of the year. Like maybe not the major or whatever, but I mean, even by then, like who knows where they're going to evolve by that time. But they've been getting top 4s so far with this team every time that they've played. So they definitely have it in them to go deep pretty much everywhere they go. So I see a very decent shot that they're actually going to win something, even if they don't win Yellow.
All right, are we going to do what we did before, Prof, and see what the people at home think?
Yeah, we can do that.
I don't know if Lucas has the technology still available, but if we can, maybe we see what the people in chat would opt for here as far as percentage is concerned. 60 seconds. All right. Well, while he's doing that, I can say this section of the show, What Are the Odds, is proudly presented by 1xBet. You like that? So we got a little. I should have done that at the start of the segment, but it's in the middle of the segment. Then that's where you guys are all watching. And now you will be contributing to the conversation. So he's setting it up now. We'll be able to see what the people in chat who are watching along think the chances of Astralis winning a trophy. I think like something else in a best of 1 round robin group stage, losing a game, and I know it's to Sashi, so it's to Hunden, and it's to Lucky. Device lost to Lucky.
Oh my God.
He's been sick, by the way.
Yeah.
I hope he gets better.
Yeah. What sickness
that's
is it,
not what I meant.
Oh, you sure? Okay.
Not in this last end game that just finished while we were live, apparently.
They only played 2 out of the 3 today, right?
The vote is live, by the way, so you can vote. Will Astralis win a notable trophy this year?
Apparently there's a poll. I can't see the poll.
You need to go into the chat, and then in the chat there's a poll.
I am in the chat. It's been infecting my brain all evening.
The brain rot.
Yeah.
Talking about that, Nitro back to CS.
Oh yeah.
He just benched himself on M80.
I don't know. Like, it's not real, is it? I guess let's just pretend it's real. Yeah, it's going to be great to see Nitro rejoining Team Liquid alongside a Twist and Nav. They should really get Stewie in a leash.
Just imagine, like, oh, okay.
Chat are haters, just like me. Let's go, chat.
Oh, well,
I wouldn't say 38% for them to win a tournament by the end of the year is haters, man.
Yeah, they feel like haters to me, Striker.
They're haters. They're ugly haters.
All right.
Why does that have to be ugly?
What's out? Okay, 47% yes, 53% no. And if you guys, at home, you get to vote one way or another. And if you're correct, then we're starting to open up a nice little kitty of money that we'll get to spend on you at some point. I don't know what we're going to do with it. Do we give everyone like party hats? So we send out postcards? What do we do?
Maybe make a nice party.
A Twitch chat.
Just for us, and they can watch.
Yeah. Okay, that's all right. That's pretty good. I saw that we discussed this before in one of the breaks that MBG12 guy was detained and permanently banned following the SSD theft at IEM Dallas. He definitely needs to have a criminal record. If he doesn't have a criminal record after that nonsense, I'm going to be really upset. He doesn't. The guy impersonated a security guard and fucking what the fuck? They didn't press charges.
It says like what does it say? Control F ESL. ESL. He even provided a picture. Blah blah. He claims that the police and ESL elected not to charge him with a crime, but banned him from event. But that's from the bird's mouth, or what they say. Who knows?
They should have banned him permanently and pressed charges. Why are we being soft on these fucking idiots?
It's a ridiculous.
Should have real life consequences.
The part where it says that he attempted to make a case for why he should have a shorter ban is the most hilarious to me.
What?
Because it says, okay, so this is on Dust.us. You guys can go out, and I'm sure it's going to be pinned somewhere up there. Before his ban was made permanent, NBG12 attempted to make a case for why he deserves a shorter ban, which his scattered and spurious explanation revolving around the theft simply being trolling, that he's a moron and that he's never been arrested or done something like this before.
Trolling and a moron.
So he was simply trolling and he's a moron. That's the reason why he shouldn't have a permanent ban.
We already knew one part of that to be true, just based off the fact that he fucking did it. The other part, like trolling, isn't it? This isn't the internet, you fucking clown.
This is ridiculous, man.
All right. All right. We got a couple other quick things that we'll just gloss over because we want to get Prof to bed. He's been able to beat Jetlag by staying up and doing HLTV Confirmed.
Thank you, HLTV Confirmed.
So, yeah, Yellow Compasses we were talking about. There's going to be more matches tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You guys can check out all that action if you're interested. The teams that are there are NIP, the Mongols, Astralis, and Sashi, and Heroic. That's Group A. 3 teams from that group will progress to the playoffs. And Group B is Complexity, Betboom, Furia, Fnatic, Big, and Eternal Fire. Heroic and Eternal Fire both sitting in the 0-2 column. I can understand that for Heroic. I don't know what's going on with Eternal Fire. I might have to watch a few more of their games. What else do we have going on? So dastan getting... Well,
he got kicked.
But apparently he's still part of the org.
Really?
I saw, apparently. Didn't the VP say something?
Yeah, seems like he's still contracted. He's not actually out of VPS.
He's not letting him out of prison. He can't come on HLTV Confirmed.
I'm doing the
pot hand.
I'm doing the pot head.
Pot hand.
I'm doing the pot head.
Yeah, okay. So that's interesting. Zoma is in.
Yeah, that's from 9 Pandas, right? So
yeah, and Seized got benched on 9 Pandas.
He's got benched. 9 Pandas doing like a big shuffle, and they also got what's his name, Shalfie.
Yes.
Which is kind of a good signing.
I thought Shalfie was going to go to Cloud9 though.
Yeah,
bro, what's the deal with this? Why does no one want to go to Cloud9?
Turns out nobody wants to go to Cloud9, which is kind of funny to me, to be honest. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something going over there that we don't know about.
I mean, the rumors are that they're getting a 15-year-old kid who's apparently been insane, and Heavy God, and who's the last one?
Monacy.
No. Imagine Monacy goes there now.
Yeah. Well, that's dead now.
Dead now, of course.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. Mongols won on home soil. That was great. They beat Bleed in the final.
Yeah.
Congrats to Mongols.
I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, we had a whole... We're in America. All right. That's the end of HLTV Confirmed for another episode. We will do one next week before Blast Spring Finals kicks off. We will also be live from London on the 14th, I believe it is.
We finished 10 p.m. on the dot.
Yeah, timed it perfectly. Yeah, I've absolutely nailed it. That's what I meant to do.
Some confirmed Monday or something.
That sounds good. Monday sounds good. All right. Thanks to OneXBet. Thanks to Tradeit.gg. See you guys in the next episode of HLTV Confirmed and get some much needed rest. Prof, Striker, and Lucas. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Are you tired of your boring old skins? Head to Trade It and trade them for exciting new ones within seconds. With 24/7 support, massive inventory, free giveaways, and low fees. Trade It is the highest rated trading platform in the market. What are you waiting for? Start trading today for a $5 bonus, only on Trade It.
Changing, but one thing remains the same: victories with 1xBet.
Since the dawn of CSGO, we have been there. Observers of all that competition can reveal. Elation, fear, triumph and heartache reach out from every frame. From the small studios and conference rooms to the epic arenas, the feeling is still the same. We live and breathe this game. This was CSGO Through the Lens. Buy now at hltv.org/shop.